Welcome to the Forward Marketing Podcast, the podcast that covers internet marketing strategies and leadership tactics to move your business forward. With your host, Joshua Jarvis. Hi, and welcome back to Forward Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Joshua Jarvis, and that is for RD Marketing. And if you've been listening with us the last, 2 weeks, we had John Poley came on and did Facebook A to Z. And so today we're going to actually pick up on part 2. And he got all the way through letter N last time with niches. And so this time he's going to pick up right where he left off. And if you missed it last week, we did 12 days of lead generation. And so that was probably one of my favorite episodes this year. And to be honest with you, I did that one live on Facebook, and it was what was kind of surprising, I think, to me, and what I was getting at was that next year we're going to be focused on lead generation. So my goal is to move your business forward, and you're going to hear more about this next week as I talk about kind of the mission, vision, values of what forward marketing is all about, and how that relates to you, the listener, and wanting to go on this journey with you next year on looking at lead generation, things you can listen to from our podcast and actually execute on your own if you want. And that is really just sort of finding your way as a business owner to figure out what is your skill, what is the thing that you can sort of resonate with and generate leads, and sort of break out of this cycle of the economic cycle and the shifts in the market. If you find that thing that you're sort of passionate about, that as it ties into your business, then it sort of helps you rise above all that. So that's what we're going to cover next week. But this week we're going to get right back into Facebook A to Z with John Poley. If you didn't get a chance to listen to 2 weeks ago John's part of the podcast, then please go back and listen to that. This is, I think, every little letter I was taking notes on with John. And he goes into the story of how he won a contest at Keller Williams. And there's how many hundreds of thousands of agents that he was competing with for this particular contest. I love the story on this thing because it's just so smart. He didn't just do it and get the most downloads, but he was really, really brilliant about how he created those ads on Facebook. And I think if you ever want to advertise on Facebook, you've got to understand that you could spend a lot of money. You could blow a lot of money on Facebook. And I know a lot of us have, but there's really, really cool ways that you can get to where you can make it on your budget. And that's probably where you see all those ads for these Facebook gurus, is that they figured out that they can be very, very targeted in their ads. And so I'm going to quit rambling on, and I'm just going to pass it on over to John. But I'm just so grateful that he's come back to finish this off. And you'll probably hear him again in 2018. If you are a real estate agent, you need to check out his stuff. And so there'll be a link on our website for you to go and check that out. So without further ado, here's John Poley.
Hello, Joshua. Thank you for having me back on the show. This is part 2 of the alphabet of conversion. Last week we ended on niches. I do recommend that everyone go back, if you're listening to just this episode, go back to Joshua's Forward Marketing Podcast and watch part 1. Last week we ended on the letter N for niches, different target markets that you may have on Facebook advertising. Equally important is the order of operations. We mentioned this a couple times in part 1, but this will make all the difference on Facebook. Instead of going straight for the sales pitch, you do the 6-part conversion funnel that we taught. You start with something free. A very valuable offer will always do well on Facebook, especially if it's low cost or free. And that's basically your introduction. You're leading with value. There is a time to sell. It's later in the funnel. But the main thing is get the higher opt-in rate when they're on Facebook. Start with something free before you go to the sales pitch or the upsell. Again, everyone can get a copy of this formula. Just text the word convert to 33444. The letter P, I learned my lesson on this back in 2014. This was back when Keller Williams, a previous company I worked with, had a contest. I was a real estate agent, and they had a contest for all the real estate agents in the company. That company is over 100,000 agents. And they said whoever can get the most downloads on their mobile app will win a $20,000 prize. Now, the catch was we also had an incentive for consumers to download our mobile app. And that was that they would actually, anyone who downloaded one of our mobile apps at the end of this 90-day contest, they would do a drawing. You'd be entered in a sweepstakes to win $50,000. So there is a huge carrot out there that we could use as real estate agents, as salespeople, that by downloading our mobile app, they would be entered into a contest to win $50,000. So when I looked at my competition and what they were doing, I actually started the contest a couple weeks late. And it was only a 90-day contest. I looked at my competition, and they were saying, download my mobile app to help me win $20,000. Well, it's not about you. It's about who you're marketing to. We've taught that a few times in the part 1 of the alphabet of conversion. Other things I'd see agents doing is download my mobile app because it has GPS locator. Well, what does that really translate to? You're not really explaining what the benefit is, again, to the consumer. So I took a different approach, and I actually A/B tested about 30 different ads during the 90 days. The one I have on my screen, if you go back to the 4RD Marketing Podcast, Joshua's website, I believe they're showing the video version of this. But if you're listening to this just as an audio, let me describe the picture that won the $20,000 contest. It's basically a wedding picture, fairly generic, but it has Mr. and Mrs. walking down the aisle. He's in a tuxedo, she's in her white dress. And my caption on the photo said, if you had an extra $50,000, where would you go after the wedding? Now, going back to the letter A of the alphabet, when we said the most important A in any advertisement is your audience, my audience on this on Facebook were females engaged in a relationship status between the ages of 18 and 24. The reason I chose 18 to 24 is because downloading that mobile app was not easy for older generations. I actually tested this on my family. And what I found is the millennials in my family were very good at navigating a mobile app to download the app and then enter in my agent code on the app so that I'd get credit for the download. So again, I picked the audience. The ad resonated, the picture, the wedding picture, and especially the caption, if you had an extra $50,000, where would you go after the wedding? Especially because my audience was, according to Facebook, engaged to be married. I hit the demographic, the younger demographic that's really tech savvy typically. And I only showed it to women. The reason I did that is because I knew this picture would resonate better with them. Now, after they downloaded my mobile app, I would send a text message to all the women, hey, let's increase your chances of winning this contest. Share this contest, share my mobile app with your future husband. So I was basically getting 2 for 1. Number one, I knew the picture is something that would resonate and get a higher click-through rate, and I actually did that through testing. Women were clicking on this at a higher rate than men were. But then I knew I could get 2 for 1 because the women were passing it on to their husband-to-be, that they would share this, and hey, let's increase our chances, because if they download, their husband-to-be downloads the mobile app, they're actually increasing the chances that one of them is going to win this $50,000 prize for their wedding. So P is for pictures. I also use a service called PicMonkey, P-I-C, monkey, picmonkey.com. It's kind of like the easier to use Adobe Photoshop, and it's very inexpensive. So P is for pictures and PicMonkey. The letter Q in the alphabet, I use that for questions. You will always find that by asking questions on Facebook, you get more engagement. And going back to the service that I mentioned last week, ManyChat will help you automate that process of asking questions. A recent feature on Facebook allows us to drive traffic to a chat conversation through Facebook Messenger rather than sending them offsite to some website or landing page that you have. And this is a great funnel for you. The goal is to have more conversations. So why not skip the process, in some cases, of someone going to a website to register in hopes that you one day have a conversation to. They clicked on the ad. Now we're having a conversation with them, and we can program some of those questions to automatically happen inside of Facebook Messenger. Again, that's a third-party service that I mentioned last week. It's called ManyChat, as in ManyChat, ManyChat.com. The letter R of the alphabet is using the right ratios. I've seen this many times with an industry that I'm familiar with, real estate, that a real estate team will spend a lot of money on software, but then they're not spending very much money on advertising. So basically it's like having a Ferrari in your garage that you can't afford any gas. You need to have the right ratios, meaning that you are saving money for your ads, but you're also in proportion to what you're paying for the software, where you're actually going to drive the traffic. And then when you look at ratios of, does a business focus on only new leads, or do you focus on sphere of influence? You definitely want to leave 20% or more of your marketing budget to marketing to the people who already know you and trust you. And I call that your sphere of influence. We covered that sphere of influence in the letter I of the alphabet last week when we talked about the inside sales associate, the ISA funnel. You might want to review that one. And then when you, more specific to the real estate industry, you look at, do we want to market to sellers or do we want to market to buyers? I'd definitely say if you're following the 80-20 rule, 80%, let's focus on sellers, because sellers become buyers. And sellers is the ultimate leverage. I happen to know that because I am in real estate as my original industry. But you want to, for all businesses, put the bulk of your advertising spend on your highest margin sales, whatever that may be. So R of the alphabet is the right ratios. The letter S is for subtitles. Videos are so important on Facebook, but you may have noticed when videos show up in your newsfeed, they do not play with sound unless you click on them. So subtitles are very important. Now I found a quick workaround to get subtitles is you basically take whatever video that you want to post to Facebook and you upload it to YouTube. You come back to YouTube about 2 hours later and they will have already created subtitles for you. You can actually go to where it lists the subtitles and you can copy and paste that, and that at least gets you a head start on creating the subtitles for your video. Copy and paste that. And then you have to have editing software to basically put the subtitles on the video. If all that sounds a little bit too overwhelming for you, you may just look to hire that part out. But I can tell you that subtitles, videos that work without audio, are a plus. Now that doesn't mean create videos that have no audio. It just means in addition to having audio on your videos, you should have subtitles, and assume that most people on Facebook are just going to scroll through till they see something that catches their eye, and it may very well be the subtitles that show on your video. So the letter S of the alphabet stands for subtitles. The letter T, text codes. And I've been using this technology for almost 5 years. It's the thing that you see where, like on my screen, I'm showing a text Rainmaker 233444. And that's a book I wrote for the real estate industry. Text Rainmaker, the word Rainmaker to 33444. The reason I like short codes, which is basically the one keyword phrase, and then using like a 5-digit phone number. Most people don't realize when they do that they're actually giving you their phone number, and it's great for lead generation. So if you send a text code, like throughout this presentation, I've said text the word convert to 33444, and that gives you my free book called The Ultimate Conversion Funnel Blueprint. The neat thing about that is once you text convert to 33444, my first automated response to you says, please respond back with your email only in order to get the free book. And the reason I ask for email, I don't have email at that point. So once you text back your email address, I know where to email the ebook, but I also have phone number and email address at that point. 2 points of contact info. And this has been super effective, especially on Facebook, because when I have something like that on an ad, many times they won't click on the ad and go to a website. They'll actually do precisely what you say, text convert to 33444, which means I'm not paying for a click. So you can find that you can run some advertising, get some leads without even paying for them by having a very convenient text short code, text convert to 33444, and running that kind of ad on Facebook. I'd say about 1 out of 3 doesn't even click. They actually just pull out their cell phone and send that message to that phone number. So it's free advertising. I love it. The letter U is for unique value positioning. Now, this could be a lot of different things. I mentioned in the first part of the alphabet, actually on the letter B, the second letter of the alphabet, that you don't want to go branded too fast because people don't know you yet. And I mentioned in the Ultimate Conversion Funnel Blueprint, it's not about you, at least not yet. It's about giving away content up front. But when you're talking about the audience that already knows you, the one that has already been in your funnel, or maybe it's a previous client, current customer, that's where it's okay to toot your own horn. Unique value positioning. For a real estate agent, this could be an award that you won. It could be an aerial map of all the houses that you've sold. It could be a video testimonial from one of your clients. It could be a video telling the background of your story, how you came into business. If you're well known in your company, another thing might be employee attraction or agent attraction if you happen to be in real estate. So I did write this book on my brokerage called 7 Strategic Advantages of EXP. Yes, there are like 6,000 agents at the company, so I'm only one of those 6,000 agents. But creating my unique value positioning at that company, I'm the one who wrote the book about my experiences at the company. So for someone in real estate, they can text the word Rainmaker to 33444 and get a copy of my book. That's basically my experience on joining this new brokerage, EXP. So that's my version of unique value positioning within a company when I am basically one of many different people that has the same role. At my company, I'm creating differentiation between me and the other agents at my company. The letter V of the alphabet, it's vlog, like a video blog, but all together is one word. So video blog or video log, the shortened version of that, what it's actually called is vlog. And it's a form of a blog in which the medium is video. And it's kind of like TV. It's basically your own topic, your own show. This works best on Facebook if you are consistent on your topic and if you have consistent delivery of that show. So just like Joshua has this audio podcast on iTunes, a vlog basically resides on Facebook. They have a new thing on Facebook called Watch, where you can create your own show on Facebook that's basically treated just like a TV show. Someone can come to your Facebook Watch and subscribe, and every time you have a new episode, they're notified of it. So if you treat it kind of like your own talk show, variety show, whatever it is, whatever your content, your passion is about, make it fun, make it interesting, but put it on Facebook. And the cool thing about this also happens to, and Joshua could talk a lot more about the SEO part of vlogging, creating video, putting it out there on the internet, putting it on YouTube. There are a lot of different places to put it. But Facebook, for one, is really rewarding those that do put video there on Facebook. And I just couldn't complete the alphabetic conversion without mentioning this new feature of Facebook where vlogging basically has its own platform within Facebook called Facebook Watch. Going to the letter W of the alphabet, I always, and whether it be web development, landing pages, sales funnels, Facebook advertising, Instagram, I always ask myself, what would Steve Jobs do? Steve Jobs was a master of user experience. And while it was frustrating with the invention of the iPhone, I imagine, to his engineers, he was stubborn on design. The one button on the phone, the one button on the Apple TV remote, the one button on the mouse. What he would look at is how can we simplify it, and then how can we simplify the process again. So people will always argue, well, Apple is just so easy. And I can speak as someone whose previous job titles included things like documentation specialist and trainer. I can tell you there's a huge value when you can ship a product and you don't even have an instruction manual with it. When you can give an iPad to a 5-year-old and they instantly understand it. I always ask myself, what would Steve Jobs do if he was creating a Facebook ad? How can I design this ad to have one less click? You got to assume that every time that you have traffic, and let's say you're sending traffic to a landing page or a website, they already clicked once on the ad, then they're clicking to your website. How many clicks does it take before you get a lead? And then how can we basically take away one of those clicks and assume that every time you require a click, you're losing 50% of your audience? So just like the letter F of the alphabet, we talked about Facebook forums. That's one way to do it. They click on the ad once, they click on the ad a second time, and Facebook automatically populates the form for them. That's basically something that I knew was going to be a great form of lead generation, because that seems like something that Steve Jobs would do. Just make it so easy. One less click, and I can tell you from experience, when you apply that thinking to everything that you do online, you're going to grow your database, you're going to grow your business a lot faster. The letter X of the alphabet, look at the small changes that you can make to get exponential results. I mentioned that with the letter P, with the 30 different ads that I A/B tested. And then the one that worked was that wedding photo. That got exponential results. It more than doubled the registration rate of any of the other 30 ads that I was running. And even go back to part 1, review the letters of the alphabet, start with the letter A. That's probably the most important lesson that I taught last week, where you start with your audience, you go to your ad, what action do you want them to take, and what is your automation. Making improvements to each of those 4 categories can create that exponential result that you're looking for. When you look at the audience, if you have an audience of 1 million and a budget of $5 a day, guess what? You can be pickier on that audience. You can not only say, I want them to match this income level, but I also want them to have this behavior, but I also want them to have this interest level in whatever it is that you're marketing. Drill that million person audience maybe down to 100,000 audience, because you're being picky. And that alone can be your exponential game changer. Then you look at the ad, and we talked about what a difference a picture makes. And we've talked throughout this presentation the importance of video. So sometimes changing from a picture ad to a video, that can be your exponential return on investment. And then you look at what action do we want to take. We've talked about the effectiveness of starting the conversation right away while they click on your ad, and next thing they know, you're having a conversation through Facebook Messenger rather than sending them to an external website. Sometimes in some markets, that could be your exponential change. And then the last item, going back to the letter A of the alphabet, the automation. How soon does it take you to respond to a lead? Studies are out there that response time is mission critical. That first 5 minutes is, you have like a 90% higher chance of conversion than if you're responding 4 hours later. So you do want to create some automation so you can ensure that even when you're busy, they're at least getting what you promised, or they're at least getting a follow-up automation that says you can expect delivery of whatever it was that you set their expectations for, and that will make all the difference. So look for those little things that you can make. Don't not launch. Do not do ads just because you don't have everything perfect. But each time you look at the ad, look at one small thing that you can change. When you look at your funnel, what is the one thing I can change that may result? And then test it. Every market's different. So some things that I've said that work in the industries that I am in may not apply to your industry, but you only know that through testing. So that's the letter X for exponential. The letter Y, it's not about you, and I know I've mentioned this several times during this presentation, but you really need to understand that if you go directly for a sales pitch on Facebook, that's going to be a very costly mistake. You need to start with the consumer in mind, and going back to the free workbook and book that you can get when you text the word convert to 33444. I've tested this. I know this. And I'm going to save you a bunch of money if you will do less of the sales pitch on Facebook, give away some free content before you go into your sales pitch. And then it's about you. It's about your company and what you or your company can do for the customer. But do not lead with that, with your first messaging on Facebook. And then finally, this has been a lot of fun going through the alphabet with all of you. But I want you to take this as probably the most important thing that I've said today. You could go wild. You could spend all this money on Facebook. But look at the people that already know you and like you. I touched on this with the letter I in the alphabet called the ISA funnel, Inside Sales Associate, where you're basically uploading these databases to Facebook and starting here. The have-mets, the people that know you, the allied resources, those would be people in your industry, but not directly competing with you. Internet leads that you've accumulated over the years, I'd throw them into that bunch. Be sure that you add a website pixel so that from this day forward, on your website, even if they don't register, we're going to treat those people differently. We'd like to put them in this audience of closer connections to you. Any data that you have where it's a reasonable thing to consider that these people are more valuable if they're on the Chamber of Commerce and you happen to be active on the Chamber of Commerce, it never hurts for them to see you on this different medium, on this social media, just for that top of mind awareness. Your LinkedIn database, your Gmail contacts, anywhere you can export a database of people that know you, you can upload these to Facebook. This is cheaper advertising because typically it's a smaller number. You're not marketing to the masses. You're marketing to a tighter knit group of people that know you. So a good rule of thumb, I'll leave you on this. If you have a database like this that you're uploading to Facebook and that audience size is 1,000, spend $1 a day. If that audience size is 5,000, spend $5 a day and market to these people in their newsfeed on Facebook and Instagram, just so you have that top of mind awareness. And going back to the letter C of the alphabet, be sure to put your cell phone, your contact info, on the ad itself. Don't rely on them to click on the ad. Go to your website and figure out how to contact you. Make it very easy. These people already know you. You don't have to do a lot of selling, but you do need to be in front of them frequently. And by using that formula, $1 for every 1,000 you have in this type of database per day, they're going to generally see your ad, several times during the course of a month. And saturation is okay. We just want to make it as easy as possible. You could even go back to the letter I and start there. I walked you through some tactics and some strategies there last week in the alphabetic conversion, where basically you're running this ad and you're running it 24/7. It's a low cost, and the most important thing, it's the most likely source of your next buyer, your next business, your next transaction. So start with the letter I. That's it. That's all I have for the alphabetic conversion. Joshua, again, thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to see where you go with this. The topics that you touch on every week are very valuable to any business owner, especially anything search engine optimized. And the tactics and the interviews that I've heard on your podcast are really second to none. So keep up the great work. And I'm looking forward to seeing how far you take this podcast. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, John. That was an amazing podcast. And again, you can go back to our website at forwardmarketing.com/podcast to get the show notes from Facebook A to Z, part 1 and part 2. Now, just remember, if you are listening on the podcast, it is separated by one episode, the 12 Days of Lead Generation, which I also think is a great one to listen to. So up next week is the pretty much final episode of the year. And it's going to be something that I'm very passionate about. I hope that you guys will get a lot of value out of it. I've prepared it ahead of time. But then coming up in the 2018 sort of season 2 of Forward Marketing Podcast, I am excited. I have got a list of sort of entrepreneurs that I'm going to be interviewing to find out at least one lead generation technique that you'll be able to listen to and implement into your business. And that was a requirement for each episode, is that the episode requirement is that it moves your business forward. So that's the reason why we have the business. It's the reason why we have the podcast, is to move your business forward. And so I want to get a great clarity around that so that, again, you can listen to this podcast, hopefully latch on to some idea and be able actually to take something that you heard here and implement it. And so forward looking to 2018, Looking forward to next week's episode. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or requests, you can email me at joshua@fordmarketing.com. That's 4rdmarketing.com. And so I look forward to seeing your emails. All right. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you next week.